Welcome to When Bad Things Happen to Good People, a podcast about censorship and the arts. Today we are live. My name is Todd Sullivan. With me is Oren Barter.
Hello, Dave.
Over there, he should say hello. I know he did say hello, but I
said hello.
Anyway, yeah. And today we're wrapping up our look at A Clockwork Orange. That could have gone smoother with the music and the voice. I should shut up.
That's okay.
Well, one day we'll get the live opening to run smoothly without any problems. Today is not that day.
It's part of the charm.
It's part of the charm, exactly. You come for the live episode, you come for the mistakes and the flubs. How's it going, Oren?
It's good. How are you, Todd?
I'm okay. I'm in a bit of pain over here. I think I got a couple of spider bites the other day. One on my foot and one on my hand, and I've been kind of limping around my house for the last few days, and the one on my hand is actually quite painful today. I'm hoping it goes down a bit some more, otherwise I might have to worry about infection or something. So
it was probably radioactive.
Well, that's the problem. Is so far I haven't had any spider powers, so it's like I don't even get. I guess technically, if I got bitten by a radioactive spider, I'd probably just get cancer and die. But yeah, no superpowers, Dave. Unfortunately, not yet. Just pain, which maybe that's a superpower. I don't know. I'm in agony, man.
Life is pain. Life is
pain. That's true. Life is a superpower.
How do you like? I want to like Dave's superpower thing.
How do you like it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Can you just like Dave? I can make Dave an admin. That's fun. Okay, so we're wrapping up our look at A Clockwork Orange. We've covered both the book by Anthony Burgess and the film by Stanley Kubrick. Before we get into that, though, we just wanted to take a minute to announce the next book that we're covering. As is always the case, when we've finished a book and then a film, we're going to take a break for a week. So there will be no new episode on February 14th. There will be a new episode on February 21st, and that will be the first episode covering a book called The Turner Diaries.
And I got to say, I'm not super looking forward to this one.
Yeah. The Turner Diaries is a novel by William Luther Pierce, and it's been in conversation to be a book that we covered for a while now. It was for a brief time going to be the first book that we covered. And one of the reasons I think that it's come up now, and one of the reasons I've decided we should do it now, is because it came up around the conversation around the Capitol riot / insurgency on January 6th in the U.S. Because it is kind of a book about extreme right-wing militias rising up and trying to seize power from, the Jews and the blacks and, the people who have sort of sent the country into a bad direction. So it seems, again, a little timely in the same way that the autobiography of Malcolm X was, and the same way that The Handmaid's Tale was. And so when we have an opportunity to do something timely, I think it's probably a wise idea. But yeah, as you were saying, Oren, you're not looking forward to it, and I admit I'm not super looking forward to it either, and I have read it before.
But I think part of this whole journey that we're on was about pushing ourselves a little bit too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So kind of push myself out of my comfort zone here a little bit.
Yeah. And I think to some extent too, part of our conversation and part of what we're going to talk about today in the context of A Clockwork Orange is looking at these pieces of work and saying, should they be banned? Should they have been banned at the time? Should they be banned now? And sometimes in order to have a conversation like that, you need to look at work like the Turner Diaries, which is currently banned in Canada, at least as far as you can't bring it across the border. It's on a block list, I guess, at the border. You can probably you can acquire it illegally, and I don't know whether or not you would be charged for anything for having a copy of it. I did try to look that up in the past. So the illegality of it in Canada is kind of up in the air. It's something I haven't been able to really pin down, but I do know that you cannot bring it across the border. But yeah, that's the book we're going to be doing next.
I would say this is probably going to be the most banned book then, the most banned thing, like in terms of the severity of the ban.
I mean, something
that
is
we've
banned
done
or
so far.
not. I don't know if you can be severely banned. How do you mean?
Well, I mean, The Handmaid's Tale was mostly banned from school curriculums. It's not necessarily something that you can't get a hold of. There's actually a TV show about it and all that, right?
Right.
But this one seems like it's a little more severely banned, if that makes sense.
Well, I think it's always been a little harder to get. I don't think it's ever been properly published by Random House or an official publisher. It's always been kind of it's something that's available.
Fringe? It's a kind of fringe or what?
It's fringe, and you'd find it at gun trade shows or
that's kind of scary.
Right marches or things like that.
Okay.
But it's always sort of been. It's almost like the Anarchist's Cookbook, which has never been officially available anywhere, but you could always find it before the internet. There were ways to track down the old photocopied version, and then since then it's been available on the internet everywhere. And maybe that's one we should cover at some point too. I don't know if you're familiar with the Anarchist Cookbook.
I am not.
Oh, it's kind of like a recipe book, but for making explosives and ways of destroying the man.
No. Okay. Sounds interesting.
Oh, Dave says he built a tennis ball bomb with it as a teen. That's awesome. Did it work?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Maybe don't tell us. You still got all your fingers because you're a guitar player, so obviously it didn't blow up in your face, which I understand a lot of people who try doing the stuff in the Anarchist Cookbook, that's happened to them. Part of the problem is that it's been because originally it was one of those things that was photocopied and then photocopied and photocopied and photocopied 5-6 generations, is you can't always read the numbers properly. So it might be whether or not it's a 5 or a 6, you can't tell. And when you're dealing with explosives, probably having accurate measurements is vital to really make sure important. That things don't go awry. Yeah, maybe something worth looking at as something to cover. Probably not fill the tennis ball with cut off match heads, then duct tape. Oh wait, I'm not reading this. I'm not reading instructions on how to make an explosive tennis ball in this podcast. So anyway,
that's a great way to get banned.
Yeah, no
when banned things happen to banned people.
Stay out of the chat, guys. Dave's sharing how to make bombs. So what was I saying? Yeah, maybe nice to do as a one-off. It's not something that we read start to finish as a novel, because it's not. But maybe do at some point in the future do a one-off on the Anarchist's Cookbook.
I also had a friend talk to me. We were just discussing the podcast, and he had mentioned or asked if we would ever consider doing band music, which I thought was interesting. Kind of a one-off episode on a band album or something like that.
That would be very interesting. Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've never talked about doing that, but absolutely. The more variety of media we can cover here, the better. It's one of the reasons that when we were workshopping the name, we went with band things so that we weren't necessarily locked into just doing books. So we could cover just about anything. And I, of course, for myself, growing up as a teen in the 90s, I remember the uproar over things like Two Live Crew, their album, pissing people off and, getting, I don't know if it was actually banned or pulled from stores, but it was definitely pissing off a lot of moms at the time. So yeah, for sure. Band music. Let's do it.
Sweet.
Anything else you want to say before we move on to Clockwork Orange?
No, I can't say there is.
Okay. Then to open up our conversation about A Clockwork Orange, I do kind of quickly want to go through, if you've been listening along to our Clockwork Orange podcast, we've been opening each episode with a little regular feature we call "What the fuck is he saying?", where we take a bunch of the words from the book and try to figure out what they mean using context clues. Because a good portion of this book is written in a not made up language, but it's sort of made up, I guess. It's called Nadsat.
All languages are made up.
All languages are made up, exactly. It's kind of an adaptation of Russian, a combination of Russian and English. It features some Russian words, then also some rhyming slang adapted from Russian words. And so what I did for today is I made a list of all of the words that we covered in the "What the fuck is he saying" section, and I've looked up what the actual definitions are to confirm or deny whether or not we got them right. So we're just going to go through that real quickly. Someone's clipping their fingernails, then they should stop doing that. We got babushkas, which we could not figure out the answer to, but is old woman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which I kind of thought, but because I think babushka is an old woman in Russian.
Yeah, I kind of thought that was an actual word.
The difference is I think it's babushka in Russian, but
Dave wanted to quiz. Dave wanted to quiz us on this.
Oh, I wanted to quiz you guys on this. Oh,
sure. Call in, Dave.
Are we going to do this right now? Do you want to call in right now, Dave, and do the quiz, or are we going to save it for later? All right, Sweet. Here we go. We got Dave calling in. We're going to start off with a caller and a quiz. Just waiting.
This is a little bit funner than just confirming them. See how good.
Oh, you should have headphones. Do you need headphones, or does it? I know it recommends headphones, but maybe you need headphones. Oh, no.
Maybe they changed it. Okay. Well, let's talk about what we're drinking.
Sure. I have a coffee with a splash of red velvet cupcake Baileys in it. And also a big old cup of
how is that
iced
stuff?
Water. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I'm almost my bottle's almost empty, and I'm kind of done with it by now. I think I'm going to go and see if the Nanaimo Bar Irish Cream from 40 Creek is still around. I want to get one more bottle of that before it disappears if I can, because that stuff's really good. But red velvet's okay. Yeah, red velvet's okay. How about you, sir?
I'm having the Partake non-alcoholic stout again. I have to work in the morning, and I don't trust myself to drink too much.
Yeah,
fair enough. Drink too much.
Yeah, I'm just gonna have the one coffee with Bailey's. That's a nice Sunday afternoon drink, I think, and then just slug back. I got a nice big cup of ice water here.
Nice.
And then we'll wait for Dave. Let's start into our conversation about the big question around all of the books that we cover here is should it have been banned? What circumstances should it have been banned? What is our feeling on that? So let's start with that conversation. I'll open by saying that obviously I don't think this book should be banned in a universal way, but I also think that it certainly has a narrow audience. I went big when I said that I thought A Handmaid's Tale should be read by anyone, like especially women or girls ages 12 and up. Not going to say that about A Clockwork Orange.
That was a bold statement. That was a bold statement.
I don't have an equally bold statement. I don't have an equally bold statement to make about A Clockwork Orange. I definitely think it is an adult book. I mean, maybe 16 years old. An advanced sort of teenager could read it and appreciate it. I think the book especially becomes challenging for anyone to read because of the language, and I think you'd have to be a pretty advanced student to be picking up this book at like 14, 15, or 16, and even just getting through it, like having the patience to understand the language and get through it. You'd have to be a pretty studious student. And of course, I mean, if you were studious enough to get through it, I would say that you're probably mature enough to experience it.
Okay.
I barely had the patience to get through it, even though I am, I think, certainly mature enough to appreciate it. How about you, Oren? What is your take on that?
yeah, I would say that this is definitely a mature book. I am, and the movie as well. I guess we're talking more about the book right now, but
Initially,
I'm
yeah.
really actually shocked. I don't even understand under what context I managed to watch this when I was in my early teens. But my memory of it was very different, and yeah, I would say I wouldn't have this in like a high school library.
Yeah.
I would say it shouldn't be in the high school library. Public library, obviously, like yeah, that's my take on it.
I could see this in a high school library, and only because, like I said, I think in a way it kind of self bans itself, um, because it is so difficult to read that anyone who's not mature enough to appreciate the book is not going to be patient enough to get through the book.
Right.
And I think I could see it having a place in a high school library, as like maybe an advanced reader option. So somebody who's like reading at the top of their level and wants something, challenging, and is reaching out to the school as a place to get that. I could maybe see then, but that would be kind of the end of it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I
As for
think
the
Dave
film,
found
yeah, I
some
can't remember.
headphones. Oh,
Let's
sorry,
talk about the film real quickly too, though.
Sure.
As for the film, again, I think, obviously it was R-rated. I think that's probably wise. Um, it's an adult film. It's very graphic in a lot of its content, although not, you don't see a lot of blood, but what you see is still very intense, and I think a lot of that comes from the almost clinical way that Kubrick films and frames a lot of the shots. You end up, almost getting this kind of, I think I said, in the last episode, this almost documentary style look at, these rapes and these violent assaults, and it's just very cold, and it's very,
and the length of them too. Like you never really think about when something horrific happens in a lot of shows. There's a lot of cutting. There's a lot of flashing from one scene to another, and then a lot of times the length of that scene is quite short as well. And it does get the point across, but on these, it just you're like, when is it going to be over? When's it going to be over?
Yeah.
Okay, are they? Yeah,
yeah, that assault on the writer and his wife just seems to go on forever.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, so I would definitely say that this deserves a R rating. Absolutely.
mhm.
I don't think there's even a question on that one.
I can't
And
remember.
whatever TV program was showing this in the daytime when I was 12 years old, shame on you. I don't even know what channel that was, but
Well, I would think if it's showing this in the daytime, it would have to be some kind of like 24-hour movie channel.
probably.
Yeah, I wouldn't have any other guess but that. But my phones are. Oh, okay. Hearing from Dave that I'm getting Oren back into the chat through my headphones. Thanks for that, Dave. Turning my volume down a little bit and see if we can clear that up. What was I saying? Yeah, I'm sure I saw it when I was a teenager too. I can't remember how old it was, and it was shocking. But again, I think I was probably maybe not perfectly mature enough to get it, but close. I mean, I was a fairly mature kid as a teenager, at least intellectually, probably not emotionally, but I was able to get kind of the message of the film, and even then, I watched a lot of horror movies, and I always appreciated finding things that were shocking or sensational, and so didn't scare me away. Probably should have, maybe, I don't know. What does that say about me? Any more comments on whether it should be banned before we let Dave call in and chat a little bit about his quiz?
Not banned, just restricted, I think.
Yeah, restricted as in rated R.
Yeah.
Not handed out to children.
Exactly.
All right, Dave, give us a call, and we can play your quiz on the Nadsat language. I'm eager to find out what that's all about.
Also, hello, Tex 1025.
Here we go. Hello, Dave. You are on the air.
What's up, boy? How you doing?
All right, you cut out a little bit there
Can
for a
you
second.
hear me?
Yeah, you're cutting in and out a little bit.
Yeah, I was hoping to not have to use my Bluetooth headset like this, but I guess it asked me to. It made me.
Yeah, like I said, I knew it had said that it was a something they recommended. I didn't realize it was something they forced you to do. So
It
anyway, you're
sounds
here
like
now.
my audio quality's not great, is it? You guys can
It's
hear me
okay.
all right?
No, it's not bad.
Okay.
It's not
As
bad.
long as it's not cutting in and out, it's fine.
Yeah, right, for sure. Probably just establishing connection too. Well, boys, thanks so much for going through all this interesting band media that I don't have the stomach for personally, and I get to like vicariously take in something like A Clockwork Orange, which I've never watched. I know exactly what it is, and I've seen plenty of previews and shots of it to know that it's just not a type of media I want to take into my mind.
Yeah,
And,
I think.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just going to say, knowing you, I think you're right. I think this would not be good inside your brain.
Exactly. So, but I also understand it to be a fairly like poignant and important piece of like media history. And so the fact that I can have a pretty good interpretation and understanding of it without having to actually like wade into those deep waters is appreciated. I really like what you guys are doing here.
Oh, thanks.
So, yeah, I created a little bit of a Nadsat slang trivia for you guys.
Okay.
I went through a Nadsat site. I found actually two, and one was inaccurate, FYI. So
Okay.
I had some inaccurate definitions until I had everything kind of confirmed by multiple sources. So Sumka.com has a Nadsat dictionary that I quite like. A lot of it is taken from Russian. So what I thought I would do is I'm going to ask you both for the definition of these words, and we'll see if you get close enough, you get a point, and we'll kind of alternate who answers. I have 20 words, and we'll alternate who answers first, so that like I could foresee Todd always answering first, and it kind of influencing Oren, right? So we'll go back and forth that way. So much of this language is built out of context, and so I'm giving you no context. You simply get the word, and then you guys can mull it over. So the first one is henkorm, which is HEN-KORM. Henkorm.
You go first, Todd. I don't even think we covered this one.
No, we didn't. I got nothing, man.
I got nothing on that one either.
Okay, well that's it. Big old goose eggs. That is chicken feed of all things, guys.
Oh, okay.
Chicken feed is henkorm. The next one, cal, C-A-L. Cal.
That'd be you going first, Oren.
Oh yeah. Cal. No idea. We didn't cover that one either.
All right. No, these are definitely just things that were in the book, but maybe you guys never spoke about.
Well, and the other thing too is like a lot of the words, like the ones we figured out the most are the ones that get used the most.
Repeated, yeah.
Sure. I'm gonna take a guess on Cal and say it's like a friend or a guy.
Okay, well, it comes from the Russian word kal, K-A-L, to mean excrement. So Cal is shit.
Is
shit of all things. So he has a throwaway line where he's like, and all that Cal.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah,
that is something that comes up a lot, actually, all that Cal.
Yeah, all that Cal is all that shit.
Yeah, okay.
The next one is Nozh, N-O-Z-H. N-O-Z-H.
Oh. I feel like it's a body part, but I don't know which one.
Would it be any guesses? Any guesses on that one?
Mind.
Mind, you guys. Not bad, but actually it's a direct translation of a Russian word for knife, the Nozh.
Oh.
Okay.
All things. I know.
Okay.
All right. Well, here, tell you what. A little bit, I'll give you guys a hint on this one. This one is a body part. It's Uko. O-O-K-O. Uko. And this one is a body part.
Uko. Oh, jeez.
Well, I know what it's not, because I know what eyes are, I know what teeth are, I know what hands are, I know what shoulders are.
So there we go. Process of elimination.
Is it a stomach?
Oren, any guesses?
No guesses. No, not on this one.
This one is an ear. The uko is an.
Oh, okay.
My goodness. Okay, next one. This is going really well, guys. Next is Otchkeys. Otchkies. Otchkeys. Tell you what, I'll give you guys a hint. This one would be touching your uko when used. The Otchkeys.
Headphones?
Uko is ear, by the way.
Or earplugs.
All right, any guesses from you, Todd?
Is it a hat?
It is eyeglasses. Otchkeys are eyeglasses.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right. Next is platch. Now, platch is a verb. It's to platch. What is platch?
I felt like we talked about this one. Is it like grab?
Anything from Oren?
Nothing.
To platch. To platch is to cry, guys.
Oh.
Cry. But it really it speaks to the difficulty of this language. Huh? It's almost like, sure, anybody who wants to try to read it can go right ahead.
I'm starting to wonder if I really understood the book.
You're right, yeah. I'm sure there would be a deeper understanding if you went back and read it again with a better knowledge of the language. Or at least a better understanding of what happened.
Okay, how about we're gonna skip this one here and go to Prestupnik. Prestupnik, Prestopnik. Prestupnik. Prestupnik. Let's say the lead character and his gang of friends, they might all be Prestupnik. If that's helpful.
Drunk.
Oh, all right. Anything from you, Oren?
No.
One of you you should just throw it a guess. One of you's going to guess correctly.
Sure. Okay. All right.
Prestupnik.
Prestupnik.
Yeah, Prestupnik. At least come up
something that you can be tired.
All right. It's a degenerate or a criminal.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, okay.
That's a Russian word, of course. How about rot, guys?
Oh, I know this one.
It's a part of the body. Rot.
You can go ahead, Oren. I went first last time.
Oh, okay. Rot. I should know this one. You got me all flustered, Dave.
Rot. I know, right? You're on the spot. Everyone thinks it's so easy when they watch me.
Stomach.
Okay. How about you, Todd?
It's a mouth.
Yeah, mouth for a point for Todd.
Finally get it. I was afraid I was going to go through this whole list and get no points at all.
I know.
That would have been sad.
Well, it's so easy to sit on our couches and watch that guy on TV and be like, man, I know the answer to this question. It's a lot harder when you're in the hot seat, huh? Okay, what's a Schlager? Schlaga. Schlager.
Any hint for that one?
You can hold it in your hand. Something you can hold in your hand.
Penis.
A Schlager.
Is it a knife?
No, it is a club or cudgel. It's a club or cudgel, but you're very close. Here's one.
Knife was a Naz.
Yeah, the knife was a Naz.
Well, that's true, but there are multiple words for it's the same thing sometimes too.
Oh, okay, that's true.
There are. I'll throw you guys a bone here. Yarbles, because it's such a great
word.
I
know what this one is.
Yarbles.
That's balls.
How about you, Oren?
That's right. Balls.
That's balls, yeah.
That's testicles. A point to each of you.
My favorite word.
How about smack? Now, smack is a verb.
Yeah, I know what this is.
I do too, and you went first last time, so I'll go. It's laugh or chuckle.
Yeah.
How about you, Oren? What do you think it is?
Yeah,
All right.
it's laugh. Yeah.
That's correct. Point to each of you. All right. How about scory? It's an adjective, right? It describes something.
Scory, yeah.
I know that one came up a fair number of times. Is it? I guess it's your turn to go first, Oren.
Scory. Oh, yeah. No, nothing.
What do you got, Todd?
Are they going to make a guess?
Yeah.
I don't know. Is it large or? Yeah, is it large?
No, it was fast or quick or quickly. It was
Fast. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's do one last one here. Yazik. Yahzik. Yazik, and it's a piece of the human body.
Mm-hmm. I think I know what this one is.
Penis.
Tongue.
Tongue is correct. Tongue is correct. Guys, wonderful stuff. We got Todd at 4 points and Oren at 2 points, guys. Thank you for engaging in my little Nadsat quiz.
No problem. Oren, I think you're the one who brought up Yazik in that episode because it was when he licks the guy's shoe. Sticks out his Yazik.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
Dave, before you go, did you have a question for us as well, or just the quiz?
I did. No, I had a couple other little ideas for the one thought that really the question that came to me as I'm listening to your summation of this work is, why is it called A Clockwork Orange?
Yeah, Anthony Burgess talked about that a little bit in the foreword to the book, but that's an excellent question. It's basically this image of a clockwork orange is the idea of something that is, by outside appearance, organic, but on the inside is actually mechanical, and it describes what Alex becomes, something that on the outside looks like natural and organic, and in that context, capable of making free choices. But in fact, what he's become is this machine that is only capable of going in certain directions because of the way he's been conditioned. So that's what A Clockwork Orange is referring to.
Very cool, very cool. So I did Google it, and yeah, man, that is what it's all about right there. That's very good. He explained this is about. Anthony Burgess. He said on a camera program in 1972, "I've implied the junction of the organic, the lively, the sweet, in other words, life, the orange, and the mechanical, the cold, the disciplined. I've brought them together in this kind of oxymoron, this sour, sweet word." I think that's really cool.
And I believe I've heard that, like, the phrase "as queer as a clockwork orange" was an existing phrase. It's not necessarily something that he came up with, but he sort of
okay, that's interesting.
Took it from that and took the imagery of it to use in the novel. I could be wrong about that. The phrase could have come.
No, you're correct, Todd. So he claimed he heard it in a London pub before World War II, decades before publishing it. He heard it in a pub. Someone said, "as queer as a clockwork orange." So there you go. And then Kubrick said about it, "The film explores the difficulties of reconciling the conflict between individual freedom and social order. And Alex exercises his freedom to be a vicious thug until the state turns him into a harmless zombie, no longer able to choose between good and evil. One of the conclusions of the film is, of course, that there are limits to which society should go in maintaining law and order. Society should not do the wrong thing for the right reason, even though it frequently does the right thing for the wrong reasons." And so anyway, that's from Kubrick himself. You were talking about perhaps understanding it better, Oren, if with this dictionary of words next to you. But I wanted to actually come back to something that you said in the Chapter 7, about Chapter 7 of A Clockwork Orange. In that episode, Oren, you said,
"Okay,
we're not the mistakes we've made, but we are accountable to the mistakes we've made, and we do have the ability to change." And I just thought that was a really impactful statement that you spoke, and I wrote it down and wanted to kind of retell it to you. I thought that was a cool insight, dude. So thank you for the work you guys create. Thank you so much.
Not a problem. We're enjoying it for the most part. And in regards to being responsible for the mistakes we made, Oren. So, do you feel responsible for choosing to read the book without a glossary handy? You accept responsibility for that choice you made?
I accept full responsibility for my lack of understanding of this book.
Yeah, fair enough. Anything else, Dave?
No, that's it, guys. Cheers. You guys have a wonderful afternoon. Thanks for letting me call in.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for calling in.
Take care.
For sure, guys. Cheers.
Anybody else? Lines are open if anybody else wants to give us a ring, ask us a question. In the interim, what do we have left to cover, Oren? I guess, one of the things that we were just talking about is whether or not we'd have a better appreciation for the book if we had a better understanding of the language. And
I don't think that I would.
I think the same. I think I would have a better understanding of the events of the book. Like, I definitely remember reading the first chapter and essentially going, I have no idea what's going on here. I have no idea who any of these people in this Korova milk bar are, or what they're doing, or what he's saying they're doing.
It's kind of part of the charm, though, of the book.
A little bit. It's a bit like
trying to figure out those words through the exactly. And
the more you read Shakespeare, the more that you kind of connect with the language and get into the flow of it. But whatever Shakespeare reading, Act 1, Scene 1 is going to be like, what the F is going on here? That's sort of what I thought about. I don't read a lot of Shakespeare, though, so that might be why.
I do bite my thumb, but I do not bite my thumb at you, sir. Sorry, I don't know where that came from.
Is that a Shakespeare thing?
I sure hope so.
You're not even sure.
I at this point, I'm not sure about anything anymore.
Yeah, fair ugh.
I appreciate. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think I would have a better appreciation of the events of the book, but I don't think I would have make a whole lot of difference about understanding the whole of the message of the book. I think that ends up being pretty clear.
Yeah, and I kind of enjoyed trying to figure out what the words meant. I actually found that kind of fun. So
yeah, and
I would say if you're going to read it, just read it.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think it's a lot more work to have to look up every single word that you don't understand, because there will be a lot of them. And you may even have to look them up multiple times because, as we learned from Dave's quiz, even words that we encountered in the book that maybe at one point we knew the definition to, it didn't stick. So,
no. Although yarbles did stick, we definitely
yarbles did stick. But we talked about yarbles quite a bit. That was one of our weekly words. I won't go through the whole list of words that we covered at this point, but I will go through and find the couple that we got wrong.
Sure.
Just real quickly, you had ukadited at one point and said it was skedaddled. Basically, it just meant to leave. But, technically, skedaddling is leaving. Litso, I think you said was mouth or lips. It's actually referred to the whole face.
Okay.
Starry was old.
I thought it was fancy.
Yeah, you thought it was fancy. It's just old.
Okay.
Audinaki, alone by oneself. Yeah. Vesht or Veshk. We didn't know what that was. It's just thing. We had rabbit as to turn, I think, but in fact it's to work.
Oh, okay.
You had poggy, but the only word I could find was poogly. So I don't know if
that could have been what I meant.
What you were trying, and it apparently means scared. Okay. Then you had grozn, which you said was wounds. I could only find grozni, which is probably what you meant, which was dirty.
Okay.
Pete, which you had was to think. I think that was in context of him going to the diner to eat and Pete. And it was also Pete was actually to drink, not to think.
Oh, okay. To eat and Pete.
Cluve, you had his nose, which is basically right. It means beak.
Okay.
What else we got? Ludes, I had guessed was ladies, but then came to the conclusion it was like a wider range, and it's basically people. Malchik refers to boys, not men.
Okay.
And itied, which I said was hurried, as in he itied up the stairs. Itied was just to go, so he basically just went up the stairs.
Okay.
And those were the ones that we got wrong. Where are we at? What else do we need to talk about here? We might be close to wrapping things up.
We could maybe discuss our preference between the book or the movie.
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to jump on that immediately and say that I prefer the movie to the book because I am absolutely not a fan of the 21st chapter. And that is something I want to talk a little bit about is I did talk about it on that third part of the book podcast, but just to say again, I understand that, the point that Burgess was getting at in that 21st chapter was to say that, these teenage rebellion, is something that teenagers eventually grow out of. These kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? These troubled teens that are running around, spray painting graffiti and robbing old ladies. Eventually they grow out of it and probably become car salesmen. But I think the problem with the 21st chapter.
Well, I mean, car salesmen are thieves too, really.
Exactly. That was the joke I was going
for. Sorry, no, I'm just joking.
Right. Oh, I forgot. We were going to start a new podcast where we overanalyze jokes to death. I do. I think the problem with trying to have that message at the end of the book is it doesn't jive with the kind of criminal that Alex is. This is a guy who's murdered multiple people, is quite likely a sociopath, and I don't think most sociopaths just go, I'm kind of done being a sociopath now.
Right.
And so I think definitely the story works better as a whole without having that final chapter, I think. And the film doesn't have that final chapter, so it definitely works much better for me. It's also easier to absorb. It doesn't have, the language everywhere like the book does as much as...
And when there is language in the movie, there's usually visual cues for it as well.
Yes, exactly. What about you? What would be your preference?
I preferred the book.
Yeah?
I definitely preferred the book. I think there were some parts about Kubrick's rendition of the story that were amazing. But as a whole, I didn't find it to be a very cohesive piece of art. Yeah. I know that's probably not a popular opinion, but I found it to be a little bit too all over the place, like that scene with Deltoid. It just kind of shattered the tone.
Yeah.
And there was a few different parts that kind of shattered the tone for me.
Yeah, I will grant that the book definitely has a more consistent tone.
But like I said, like some of the visuals in the movie, like those tableaus that he did, the one at the very beginning with Alex and his droogs at the milk bar, they're all sitting, still looking at what they're looking at. And then that tableau with the writer, the other Alex, the bodyguard, Darth Vader guy, and his two friends there when he's blasting Beethoven up through the walls to drive Alex crazy.
Yeah.
And how they pan back and just the positions that they found themselves in and the looks on their faces.
In a way, those shots kind of mirror each other too, right? Because it's again, it's four people. They're all kind of in a line. They're revealed as the camera pulls back in much the same way. And it's them. I mean, you would almost say that like the look on the author's face in that moment is very similar to the glee on Alex's face as he's preparing to go out for his night of crime. And there's probably a message of, how much of a difference is there between these two groups? that are,
Right.
in the midst of doing something pretty vile.
Absolutely. I found those to be awesome, like just great shots. But as a whole, I think I preferred the book over the movie.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dave just asked in the chat, are there any works where you've read the book and seen the movie and prefer the movie? I would say it's few and far between, but I know for myself, Jaws is one where I prefer the movie over the book. And I understand for most people who have read The Godfather, most people find that the film is better. And then there are cases for me where there are films and books that are kind of on equal footing. Like for me, the book and the film of Fight Club are pretty on par. I like them both kind of equally. And the book and the film of The Shining, I both like pretty equally, even though they are both very different beasts. And I feel the same way about the book and the film of Annihilation. Both are very good, but also both are kind of very different beasts. Do you have any thoughts on Dave's question there, Oren?
I'm not as big of a reader as you, so I think most
Well, you're getting to be
media
thanks
I've
to this
ingested.
podcast.
Yeah, I know that was part of the reason. Like, I was excited to do this podcast because it had been a long time since I've actually read, which is embarrassing to say. But yeah, I can't say I have a deep enough repertoire of books that I've read that have movies that I've watched to answer that question.
Fair enough. Maybe after another year or two of this podcast, we'll have that problem fixed for you.
Maybe.
Dave, I think 13th Warrior is an adaptation of Crichton's Eater of the Dead, which he enjoyed, I think, more than the book. I didn't know that. That was filmed near Williams Lake, I believe.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I personally prefer the title Eaters of the Dead, but I guess 13th Warrior is probably more commercially viable as a title. All right. One last shout out if anyone wants to give us a call and ask us questions or share their thoughts on The Clockwork Orange or anything else for that matter. As we wait for potential callers, which probably aren't going to ring in, do you have any final thoughts, Oren?
No, I think I've said everything I need to say. I'm glad we did this one. I know I wanted to do it as soon as we started this podcast. Very different than I remember. But yeah, no, I'm glad we did this one.
Yeah, I'm glad we did this one too. I think, as I said before, this was a book that's been on my list of things to read for a while. And I tried it at least once before, and I didn't get through the first chapter. I was just like, this is too much work. I'm going to go read something that's in English.
Yeah.
And I honestly, if I didn't have like accountability to this podcast to see it through, I probably would not have bothered. Because there is a film. You could just sit down and spend, 2 hours and 10 or 20 minutes, whatever it is, watch the movie, get the story, get the point, move on with your day, and not have to worry your yarbles from your plotches. But no, I'm glad I did. Because, it was definitely, it's a unique experience when you get the entire story told from Alex's perspective. And there were moments that were missing from the film that I think were better in the book. I think, the way he's chosen for the Ludovico treatment is more interesting in the book, with the way that he murders the new prisoner in his cell. Accidentally, of course. He doesn't mean to kill him, but the fact that that he's like this much of an unredeemable criminal rather than just a guy who speaks out of line in a line in prison yard.
Yeah.
It's a bit more interesting, and it's a bit more believable, that, they're going to grab that guy as the one for this controversial treatment. So yeah, there's definitely things to like in the book. I think in a lot of ways it's a more full story. I can't get over the 21st chapter is my thing.
Just don't read it.
Yeah, I guess that would be my recommendation. If you want to read A Clockwork Orange, either skip the 21st chapter or just go find a copy from earlier on in the U.S. printing that doesn't even have the 21st copy, and then or 21st chapter, and then you can't even tempt yourself to read it because it's just not there. That's my recommendation.
Okay.
All right. Doesn't look like we're having any more callers, so I think we'll call this episode a close. Thanks for listening, everybody. For those who came late, you missed the announcement that our next book is going to be the Turner Diaries by William Luther Pierce, which, according to Wikipedia, Turner Diaries depicts a violent revolution in the United States, which leads to the overthrow of the federal government, a nuclear war, and ultimately a race war, which leads to the systematic extermination of non-whites. So that's going to be a fun time. That's what we're doing. Huh? What was that?
Not really. I'm not looking forward to that one.
No, it'll be an experience.
Push the envelope. Yeah.
Yeah, and then hopefully we'll find something fun to do as a movie afterwards to cleanse our palate or something.
Sure, sounds great.
Also, I should mention, hopefully, we have some interesting plans for Easter. I don't want to announce anything quite yet in case we can't actually pin them down, but I am hoping to be able to do a 1-2 special Easter weekend, a Friday release of a recorded episode, and then the Sunday live episode with some guests. Fingers crossed that we can pull it all together to make it happen, but more on that in the future. All right. Thanks for listening. I have been Todd Sullivan.
And I'm Oren Barter.
And this has been When Bad Things Happen to Good People. Now go read a fucking book.